Alright guys, hey, welcome back to another video. My name's Alex and today we're going to be looking at hill starts. Hill starts are something which a lot of people struggle with, especially when they're first starting to drive. I think the main thing people worry about is clutch control, whether they're going to be rolling back into someone behind them or stalling. Those are the two main worries I hear a lot, and they're really nothing to worry about, and it's something that you can get over with just by a little bit of practice. You don't have to have a hill to practice on. You can do it on a flat piece of ground. That's absolutely fine. The only difference will be the amount of throttle and clutch you will need to actually use. So when you are sitting in the car, if you've got a clear piece of land in front of you, then you can do a couple of things to practice hill starts pretty much anywhere. Hill starts are a balance of the throttle and the clutch, and really they're no different to pulling off on a normal flat piece of ground. The only difference is you might need to hold the clutch at the binding point for longer and use a little bit more throttle. That's all. So for normal starts you might be using a little bit of throttle, say 1500 RPM, something like that. For a hill start, you're allowed to use a little bit more. You can go up to sort of 2000. That's absolutely fine. When you get more and more practiced, you won't need to use so much throttle, and the more practice you get with the clutch, the less you can technically use. It does depend on the car as well, but around about 1500 to 2000 RPM, anything around here is absolutely fine. If you're worried, don't worry about using a little bit more throttle. The more practice you get, the less you can use, and the less you have to worry. Hill starting is really just getting used to the biting point on your clutch, this little point here, which we talked about in the previous video, and you'll hear a lot from driving instructors. If you can pull off on your car and you can move forwards, then you can hill start. A good way to practice your hill starts is to, on a flat piece of ground, keep your handbrake up and on, and put the car into first, and then build up a little bit of revs. Build up, say, 1500 RPM, and then just bring the clutch to the biting point. You can feel the car start to pull forwards and hold it at the biting point and then release it again. All you're doing on a hill start is that exact thing. You're building up the revs so that the engine starts to pull on the wheels and your car starts to move forwards. And then all you'll need to do is, whilst holding it at the biting point and the car's pulling forwards, all you need to do is release the handbrake. And then as your car starts to move forwards, you can then come off the clutch and build up a little bit of power and just, you'll move it. Put the car into first gear, keep the handbrake on and up, and then build up a little bit of throttle, say 1500 RPM, and then with your clutch, release it and get to the biting point, and then you'll see the revs start to drop. Then all you need to do is take the handbrake off, keep the clutch where it is, and you'll start moving. So, to avoid releasing the clutch too fast, we talked about a technique earlier where when you get to the biting point of your clutch, you can keep your heel on the floor, and what that does is give you more control over the biting point of the car. So when you've got your heel on the floor and you're at the biting point, you can then use the top of your foot to kind of be very, very sensitive with the biting point. And then once you get past the biting point, you can then release the clutch completely. So this just helps out and makes it easier. It was something that I struggled with a lot when I was learning, and just kind of clicked with me. It helped me out a hell of a lot and just got me that little bit more confident with the car. So one of the main things people worry about is rolling backwards on a hill start. Don't fret. If everything goes wrong, all you need to do is at the same time put the clutch in and pull the handbrake up as quickly as you can, and then you're not going to be rolling anywhere. If that fails and your handbrake stops working for some reason, just put your foot on the brake and put your foot on the clutch, and no worries. I'll give you an example of how this could go wrong. If, for example, you don't give it enough throttle, all that's going to happen is you're going to stall the car. That's not a problem. If that happens, all you need to do, foot on the brake, foot on the clutch, restart the car. And then make sure the handbrake's applied and just try again. There's no worries with stalling, especially when you're learning. People are going to expect you to stall. That's absolutely fine, and it's all just a learning process, so you're not going to damage the car in any way by stalling, so it's fine. Obviously, the bigger the hill and the faster you want to move, the more clutch and the more throttle you're going to need to use. A quick tip for you guys, when you're learning things like a hill start and everything like that, don't compare yourself to your friends. Everyone is different, and if you get a mate coming in and bragging is like, oh, I've had 3 tests and I can hill start, and I can, nah. Go like, nah mate, nah. Don't listen to him, just learn at your own rate. So let's go through that again one final time. All you will need to do for a hill start is put the car into first gear, keep your handbrake on, build up the revs a little bit and keep them steady at about 2,000, that's probably a healthy amount. Bring the clutch to the biting point with the handbrake still on, and then release the handbrake whilst keeping the clutch at the biting point, and then release it once you start getting moving. So guys, I'll just give you an example here of a little hill start. You just have to hover over the clutch a little bit longer than you normally do. And away you go. Simple as that, and that's all it is really. Hill starts are nothing complicated. All that is the added addition of your handbrake and your clutch control. It's all a case of finding out what your car can do, what you're comfortable with, and what works.